The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.
This is a track that is iconic for its namesake. This is a track that you can look at and understand why it's called the world's center of racing. It's seen 23-hour and 58-minute races of what should be 24 hours. It's seen the Daytona 500 year after year, a staple in NASCAR. And well, this week, it gets to see my evil genius come to light of something I begged for in the league. A evening, raining, 90-minute race. The drivers are going to despise me at the end of this one, but I tell you what, right now, I think I am my own best friend and the creator of chaos. Welcome, everybody, here to Elbows Out Racing on PTR TV, where this week, for this run, it's our second 90-minute race of the week. It's the Infinity Flying Farms 90 here. Only a couple minutes left to go in qualifying, but to tell you what, from what I've seen so far, I don't know that qualifying is going to matter nearly as much as you might think as they go along. And it's going to be, well, we got a packed booth for the second week in a row here. We got some fun things in the background, though, for that. It is going to be myself, Brad, here, and I am joined by Corey Silva and Patrick. Of course, everyone knows Patrick, as always. Corey, you're not new to the channel, but you're new to a Wednesday night. It's what, your second time here? So Patrick, I gotta ask, rain, nighttime, well, evening, rain, 90-minute race, what sort of carnage are you expecting? I agree with that completely. Big thank you to this week's sponsor, Date McGuire, who is not on track at the moment, so we'll give him some love here in just a minute. And I tell you what, you only hear me. What do you mean? Everyone, say words. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that... Listen, it wouldn't be a broadcast if there wasn't some sort of weird moment. Let's try this one more time. Now say a word, guys.
Hello.
There we go. This is why updates on race day are horrible. They love to break things. Okay, so here's basically what Corey said. Corey said he founded the channel and he's excited to be here. Patrick said carnage. I think I summed up the past 2 minutes, guys. Would you agree?
Yeah, pretty
In less
much.
eloquent terms, but yeah.
Yeah, basically. Eloquence is not the thing I'm great at, but you know what? So be it. I ran a little bit of practice it was Monday, and I got to have some fun here. Tell you what, let's get this thing going here. We will let the grid scroll underneath, and as we do that, I'm going to ask the $1 million questions here. Let's start with the first question of the day, going to Corey. Corey, how many wrecks are we expecting?
I didn't study. I'll have to let Patrick go first, only because I don't know the league as much. I watch it here and there, but with rain and limited visibility, computer hardware issues, I think it could be more. But Patrick, I would rely on your expertise.
I think it's going to be kind of like Imola earlier on in the season. I think this is the first race where we actually brought out the safety car. So I think it's going to be a little bit of carnage, but I think relatively. I think there's going to be a good amount of carnage into it compared to what we normally see, but it's probably going to come down mostly to the fact that it is going to be wet. The drivers have probably done a bunch of laps around this track, whether in leagues or the official Daytona events that iRacing puts on from time to time. So, I mean, I think it's really just going to come down to, can these drivers handle the rain in these cars? Because some of these cars are going to handle the rain better than others, but yeah, I'm expecting at least 2 to 3 wrecks here, at minimum.
So, 2 to 3 wrecks at minimum. I definitely think that is accurate, at least here. I think a couple things to note. Couple people I want to shout out here. I want to shout out Emily Milky here, our pole sitter, because Emily has gotten bloody quick the past few weeks. It's kind of been impressive. Also, I want to give a shout out to Eric Wineland for running a Spike livery, just because I do love it. Tyler Stenick has been trying to do pretty well here going through. And then I want to give a shout out to the Australian Craig Yor back in GT3 AM. He's been doing pretty well as well the past few weeks. Nice and steady and consistent. Race details here for anyone who may not know as we are set up here on the backstretch. 90 minutes, no cautions. A 4-tire pit stop is mandatory. And my guess here is the transition from dries to wets will meet that whenever that happens. And of course, 3 classes as usual: GT3 Pro, AM, and LMP2. Corey, keys to the race. Number 1 is rain, rain, rain.
I mean, I guess I don't know if it's go away, have some fun another day or whatever it is, but we'll look forward to it. Settle in for the extra 30. I mean, it is a 90-minute race. These drivers only traditionally used to an hour race, so a little bit of an endurance, and add some endurance with weather. That should get interesting. And everybody say sausage. I mean, did you say that? Because I was going to say it.
I did indeed, and it may or may not have popped up on my TikTok about 7:15 p.m. I was watching TikTok, and that old Vine, everybody say sausage, keep it going, popped up, and I was like, you know what? That is impressive.
I don't know what that saying is, but everybody say sausage. I'm assuming because there are sausage curbs here, and especially there in the bus stop, you can launch over them. So we don't want to do that, but we are rolling and grooving. And from what I think we are getting, Brad, I think we get an extra pace lap to get everything situated here.
I believe so. We will verify that on the backside here in just a second. And I tell you what, I didn't realize that the spotter was on. So you're going to see a thumbnail for a second while I fix a quick setting. See, this is the problem of what happens when I decide to drive for a run and not usually drive, and then I do that, and well, you get some crazy things here and there. So yeah, that's what that is. We'll make sure that we don't knock out anyone's eardrums with that, as our pace lap is underway here for the going here of the Infinity Flying Farms 90. Again, a lot of love needs to be shown to Date McGuire for sponsoring this week's race as we get the field sorted here. And as is tradition, it will be the GT3s starting pros together, and then the AMs will start behind. So that is what I think will go through and be exciting. And yes, we get that extra pace lap, which I do love here. Corey, do we go ahead and show our big new thing this week, or do we hold off on that for a minute?
You're the boss. I'm the employee today.
Yeah, that's a weird fact you just pointed out. So you know what? We are indeed going to do such a thing. So let's get this dialed up. And you know what? Kicking it off for this week is picture that might not be picture in picturing. There we go. So for this week, we're trying this out for size on 90 minutes. So we'll have 2 different feeds going here as we can, and it will give us some ideas. And then this will also give us a little peek into the radar as well, as we know the rain will be coming. That weather, of course, as we peek into it, it is going to rain at some point. The big question is, well, the resounding when. And when it does, I think it's about 30 minutes into the race, if I remember correctly. So when that rain pops up, it is going to be really, really exciting.
Yep, indeed it is. Yeah, it's going to make things really, really tricky for these drivers in both categories because, like we said earlier, some cars are just really not that great when it comes to the rain. So it's going to be pretty much just which drivers can handle the rain. And even some cars who can handle the rain pretty well, the drivers, on the other hand, it's a bit of a different ball game.
Yeah, it definitely is. But I think they're going to be just fine here. And I tell you what, drivers, you're welcome for the extra pace lap because this is going to let you warm up the tires a bit more here. Patrick, give me a prediction. You got teammates starting on the front row. Peter Nodwell, Colin Bourdon, GT3 Pro. Who gets it?
I think they'll probably try to get Colin Bourdon to get a good position here, but I think Peter and Colin are going to just race each other nice and neat all the way to the line. I don't expect their equivalent of Papaya rules to come into effect. But I think Colin Bourdon might get the jump here because he's also been really quick here in the last couple of weeks.
That he has. And then, you know what, Corey? GT3M, they run single file through here. Tristan Meyer is leading in a Corvette with Michael Bowman and Andre Wedderburn. I'll tell you right now, Andre Wedderburn is quick, so is Christopher Ondera. Do you have a preference of car in this EM category?
I mean, I'm always going to go with a Corvette as a Chevy guy, even though I don't support all of what Chevy's doing from a NASCAR perspective, but that's a podcast topic. But certainly, and I do remember Wedderburn did put on a great show for us at the VIR race, I think last season that I was with, so I'd have my eye on him.
I believe it was VIR, so we'll see what happens here. And guys, one more thing we haven't talked about as the cars are rolling through. I'll get back to Am really quick to show it. Let's look from the blimp. It's a paved Le Mans chicane. I have strong opinions about this, of which I'll keep to myself, but it's a paved Le Mans, but we cut the blimp back over. Pace car's pulling off. We're getting set up. Barney has a green flag, and, well, 90 minutes into the evening, into the storms on the horizon, anything can happen. Cody Peridotto says that M had a crazy quali lap. She's looking good. We're going to see how good she looks into turn 1 because that is the big key. You don't win on quali. You win after 90 minutes. LMP2's coming to the line. Green flag is out, and we are racing for 90 minutes here in the Infinity Flying Farms 90, and it's going to be into turn 1 here very quickly. Emily Milky does lead the way. Kel Haugen and Nicholas Paletti battling it out behind here. Emily cooks it a little bit into turn 1, cooks it a lot of bit into turn 1. Emily Milky is off, and as she is, the GT3 pros are now rolling here. Nodwell and Bourdon side by side into turn 1. Nodwell gets a little bit better of a run here, going down into the inside. Let's see how this plays out. Goes through, and Nodwell will cover off Bourdon. Westbrook, Metterly side by side. Emily Milky, such heartbreak there. And then the AM category will start single file on the outside line. Let's see if there's any dives into turn 1 for them. It does not appear so at the moment as they go along here. And it looks like everybody nice and tidy, single file in the AM category. We've had a big coming together, though, in the GT3 Pro category. Steve McClendon there, that is through the International Horseshoe, going through. Both of the Fost Racing drivers of Nerney and Paul Nye are off. Patrick, we've had carnage lap 1.
As well in Pro. Return of the spin of the Mac as well in GT3. I do have that on screen, Brad.
Oh, pulling this up here, going replay. So that is what happened in the Horseshoe. So that is Matt going through, McClendon in the mix. And I tell you what, not a better place, not a worse place you could be parked going through and around. So as we see what happened there with those GT3s on your bottom picture and in the top picture, it is your LMP2 leader at the moment going through and along, holding on as we go here. Lap 1 is now complete. And it's Kel Hagen leading. Heartbreak for Emily Milky.
Yeah, this track really just takes no prisoners. I mean, it's a very tricky track. There's a lot of parts where, like on the banking here, it is pretty wide. But through the International Horseshoe, where we saw the incident earlier, it does get pretty narrow. So that's something that the drivers are going to have to take into account here, is on the oval parts of this track, it is pretty wide as Emily Milky is coming in. Emily did have a meatball flag, one of a few drivers actually. Chris Stewart in the GT3 Pros also has a meatball flag. So they're both going to come into the pits, get that fixed up, and then come back out. But yeah, that infield part is just really, really difficult sometimes.
Now the infield here at Daytona, especially exiting onto the oval, is where I find the most problems to be here, is Kielhaugen on the screen. But a lot of transitions both coming onto the infield and out of the infield. And here we watch them drivers, I believe, coming onto NASCAR 2 and into that Le Mans chicane. And here's the GT3s, again, doing that very difficult transition back onto the banking.
Yeah, it's always exciting to kind of watch how the GT3s handle the banking here, how they run through. And again, remember, they got to get through 90 minutes of racing, and we only went through 4 minutes here as we go along. Peter Nodwell setting into about a half-second lead going through behind. You've got Medderly, William Westbrook, Colin Bourdon, Peter Nodwell. Here are your top 4 holding on. Further back in the AM categories, we do have Joshua Bibb and Michael Bowman who are battling things out. They swap positions here. P3, P4 in category.
I have a spin of Daniel Pinero in the backstretch chicane, Brad, on our picture-in-picture.
We'll pull that up here. What happened to Pinero? And let's see, I think Pinero tried to order the Panera bagels, and possibly they came in a little bit flat. I don't see any contact. I don't see anything crazy. It looks like the car just didn't hook up for him there, looking at that replay here. And that would be exactly what happened for him. Not ideal, but it does happen sometimes here, as there was an iRacing update today. I'm going to preface that, and I am being told that that iRacing update did make some weird things happen. So if you're seeing like a half second of a black screen when we cut back into live pictures, blame iRacing, not me. Again, Patrick, I said this earlier, updates on race day are never fun.
Oh yeah, I don't think that's exclusively an iRacing problem either. It's any sim, honestly. There's always an update that can, I mean, we can take this out of sim racing, and it's always an update before anything important is likely gonna break it. As we have a beautiful battle here between Mike Sermon and Travis Bell. Travis Bell trying to use that Mustang to put the American car on Victor Lane at an American track. And we'll see. We know that Mustang is quick on a straight line, and it's got good top end. And I mean, the Mustang is, I think, the only car that actually competes on Daytona in 2 different categories, because it competes in GT3 and also in NASCAR, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see how he can go ahead and utilize that Mustang, as now we're riding on with one Hugo Alexander Ortiz in the number 372 as he goes through Brad's favorite part of the track, the paved Le Mans chicane.
Oh, come on.
I'm sure the cars appreciate it.
I don't know about that, but as we ride on board, one thing I do want to pull up really quick is the weather radar. Let's take a look at the radar right now. And what is there on the radar? A whole lot of nothing. We'll check back on that here momentarily, though, but as we see right now, the radar has a whole lot of nothing, which is really good for these guys as they go through and along, and we continue to watch this run go through for Hugo Ortiz, who is battling it out right now, P12 in class. In, I think this is one of my favorite paint schemes. Or do we call them liveries? Corey, you rule. This is based on IMSA.
Oh, these are liveries here. we're on a track where you turn left, but yeah, we certainly would go with liveries here, as a lot of nice ones throughout the field, custom paints. A lot of these drivers, these artistic groups, doing a great job here today.
That they do here. You can see who's doing a really great job here. Dylan Ackley battling it out with Maxwell Woodman C. Down the front stretch they go, heading in towards the tri-oval to go for turn one. Side by side, they'll go across the line. Solar Racing car here trying to get past the 523, and the 145 of Ackley around the outside does work his way through down into turn one. Can he secure it on the brakes? That's a resounding yes. Great move into turn one, and now he'll set his sights on Nicholas Paletti ahead.
Indeed, and once again, it's always going to be tricky here, especially because we're on a very narrow part of the track, and Maxwell Woodmansey is right behind too, so if something happens between Ackley and Paletti, then he's going to go ahead and become the direct beneficiary from that incident. So Maxwell Woodmansey in a pretty good spot in that white and gold LMP2 machine. You're going to go ahead and try to close in the gap and try to get maybe some moves done here, but it is still early stages here in the race, and you got to ideally get these tires up until that weather hits, because I mean, if you burn those tires out, then you may have to make 2 stops in this race, which is definitely not ideal if you can make this race on a 1 stop and purely for the transition between slicks and then the groove tires.
And that certainly becomes a big point of contention, because some of these drivers will certainly push the envelope when it comes to what those slicks can do, and they'll push the envelope, and eventually you hit that crossover lap, guys, where they start to even out, and then they hit the crossover lap again after that, where the wets start to be advantageous, and with every lap that you stay on slicks, it's just more and more of a risk. But as we saw on the radar, still a ways to go. No precip as of now, as the sun further goes down here at Daytona.
You know, looking at this race, I think the big key of the race that wasn't on the list, but I'm going to go ahead and just say it right now, is, okay, so we had Portimao earlier in the season, right? And it was wet, damp on track, but there was a racing line. You didn't have to run wet tires, and it was kind of interesting. From what I saw of practice Monday night, guys, it is going to be pouring the rain here. Also, I want to side note, I was faster than Zach Nerney in raining conditions in a BMW. Just throwing that out there. So if Nerney's listening, I'm going to get yelled at later. But, you know, with that being said, there isn't any sort of a nice moment where these guys are going to get to sort of play tricky conditions. It's going to come a downpour. It's just a matter of when. And when it finally does...
It should be in about 15 minutes, folks. We're at 4:47 virtual time right now, and we have a 100% chance of precipitation at 5 sim time. So about 13 minutes from now, which give or take around, 7 to 8 laps, we should start having our dynamicism come into play.
So we're not that far away then.
Indeed, yeah, we're not that far away from it. It's going to make things really tricky, too, because there's always going to be a fine line, and we always even say this with slick tires here, Brad, is just, when do you make the call to jump on? Because you're going to start seeing those diminishing returns the longer you run on that set of tires, especially when inclement weather is going to be involved. Because if you pit too early, then you're going to burn out those intermediates or those wet tires way too quickly. But if you go too late, then you're pretty much just going to be a slip and slide, like a cheetah on an ice rink. So you really just got to pick your poison when it comes to this tire strategy.
Particularly being at Daytona, and this wouldn't be something that comes into play very often, but using slick tires on a wet banking, I feel like would be even more difficult than it would be at a traditional road circuit where, of course, you're not driving on 31 degrees of banking.
I 100% think you're accurate with that, to be honest. I'm trying to sort of gauge in my head some of the just absolute crazy chaos that is happening right now. I'm trying to do the math at this point on what some of these drivers might be thinking, where their mind is at with battles and what they are looking to do here is we're only 12 minutes into this race. The gap to Kellhagen is closing quite a bit here, and I think that's going to be something to note, because here's Kell coming through Daytona 4, and then here is Dylan. Maxwell Woodmansee and Paletti are now swapping positions.
I do have, Brad, a incident. Hugo Ortiz had a faux pas in the Le Mans chicane.
Let's dial this one up and see what happened here for Ortiz as he goes through, and, well...
Too much curb.
That is heartbreaking there. Never ideal to see, but it is something that sometimes can happen there as it goes through and around. As we go back here to live pictures yet again, it does look like Woodmansee has cleared Paletti here, which is good to see. Weird stuff happening on the back end. See if we can fix that out and get that sorted here as we continue through with Eric Wineland still in the seat. The LMP2s are hooked up a lot more than we normally see, Patrick. I'm kind of confused by it. I don't feel like we usually see the LMP2s hold this much of a gap. Now, is this just the fact that this is a track that is so well known? I mean, think about it. It's Daytona, let's be honest.
I mean, possibly, and also there isn't a Cody Perodotto breathing down everybody's necks, but, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep it up, because, I mean, this is probably the closest we have seen this LMP2 field in a while. They just got to be careful not to get sent to the Kennedy Space Center by some of these sausage curbs here through the Le Mans chicane.
I think that is easier said than done, to be honest with you, as we go through and along. I'm trying to sort of watch and see what's happening here.
Pull the weather, Mr. Brad. Pull the weather. We got updates.
Oh, that came out of nowhere.
Sounds about right for Florida.
And it's
You
coming
see
from a
red.
weird direction.
Yeah, it's coming north to south, so geography is not at play here with the weather, but maybe it's some kind of summer storm. But yeah, right on the cusp here, about 8 minutes or so, and we will be light rain, and you can see some dark red cells, which means monsoon conditions. So these drivers will be put to the test in very short order.
So, Patrick, you are the Florida man. Why did we dial in hurricane conditions here? I just said rain in the evening. Why did you dial up the hurricane conditions? I'm going to shift the blame to you.
It's not peak Florida if it's not like, you know, perfectly sunny at one point, then like 5 minutes later it's like torrential hurricane weather. I mean, that's just not the Floridian way, so I just had to go fix it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I am the Florida man, so I had to expand control over our collective domain. But yeah, it's going to make things really tricky, especially with those monsoon conditions. I mean, that's really going to test the drivers. As some great drivers have said, rain is the great equalizer. So we'll just kind of have to see who can survive in those extremely crazy conditions.
I'll tell you right now, we got a battle for the lead developing out of nowhere here as we've hit lap traffic. 0.3 of a second separating Kellhagen and Dylan Ackley as they head down into turn number 1. And I mean, we haven't even talked about traffic because, again, it's Daytona. This is one of those, I thought traffic wouldn't be the end of the world, but I mean, look at this. It's made the gap literally nothing here as we now have Paletti and Luke Patrick going side by side, figuring it out through the kink into the International Horseshoe.
Yeah, these guys are really
catch traffic as well, because right here coming through the kink, one lane through the track, and then you got to switch right back for the other side of the hairpin in the infield. So this is the worst place to, as you guys always say, traffic giveth, traffic taketh. It certainly taketh through the infield.
Yeah, because it gets extremely narrow through that infield, so it gets really difficult sometimes, especially when there's traffic involved, and especially once this weather comes in. It's going to make things super, super difficult. We're going to crank up the difficulty to 11 by the time that the rain gets here, and honestly, I think it's really just going to be traffic management in adverse conditions is going to be the real name of the game here, as Dylan Ackley looks to shake for a move, as Nicholas Paletti is going to try to get a move done as well. So we got quite a few moves potentially being attempted up and through the field as Luke Patrick goes to get around that Porsche. And now we're seeing that the current race leader of Kjell Haugen is going to go ahead and battle on. And this is the really fun thing about Daytona, is that you can have battles in both classes at the same time, and especially on this part of the track where it's mostly high speed, these battles can coexist and honestly be a lot of fun to watch.
Looking to start a battle as well in the pro division, as Colin Bourdon is starting to close in. Last time by 0.6 of a second faster than Peter Nodwell there in the GT3 Pro division. So Nodwell currently on the banking right now, so we'll see if any slipstream comes into play. That gap going down ever so quickly through the slipstream, and I see an LMP in the background, so that may be interesting through NASCAR 3 and 4. Hard on the binders into the Le Mans chicane.
So here's the $1 million question I have at this point, as the sausage curves and the Porsche are very intimate there, flinging their way around. Dylan Ackley, Kjell Haugen, as they come out into NASCAR 1 and 2, they are about to have one heck of a time here. Let's see how the slipstream affects things. Now, guys, we look off here through 1 and 2. Riding on board right now with Dylan Ackley, it doesn't look that bad this way, right? It doesn't look that bad this way. I'm going to very quickly look off the back end of the car, though. The rain is coming. Look to the left. The rain is coming.
It is
4:57
sim time. 4:57 sim time. So, I mean, the radar on the tight view radar, we still don't have any precipitation, but on the long view radar, it is there. So I'm going to guess between 5 to 7 laps. I think I said that about 5 to 7 laps ago, but I'm going to repeat my thought, because it's rather eminent, as we're 20 minutes in to today's efforts.
Great battle here into turn 1. Dylan Ackley, Kjell Haugen. They're going to have a little bit of contact heading into turn 1, and Kjell Haugen will hold the lead, but Dylan Ackley had that through the tri-oval. Kjell Haugen, though, showing great pressure on the brakes, literally, and Dylan Ackley with a major lock up there heading into the International Horseshoe. He manages to stay out of the back there of Kjell Haugen, but he was desperately trying to get that pass done, as they're going to get past Zach Nerney, the Foss driver, in P17 in Pro, and they'll go through and continue their battle. Nerney will block there Dylan Ackley in the West Horseshoe. That's going to open this battle up. Nerney in a very poor position here for Dylan Ackley. He's got to find his way through. Ackley flashes the headlights, and for Kjell Haugen, he just got thrown a lifeline.
I do want to point out a incident, Brad, that happened through the infield in the kink. Michael Bowman just scared the bejesus out of a bunch of people here. Take a look.
Watch it on the bottom here. So he loses it through the kink, and then, you couldn't be stopped in a worse place. Goodness me. He is stopped in literally the worst possible position.
And then Ethan Murphy, another incident here. Just another little loop-de-doop-de there. So a lot of drivers having trouble on the power exiting these corners. I don't know if it's a compound of getting on the gas too hard, using too much curb, but a lot of spins on corner exits tonight, guys.
And it's only going to get worse.
I mean, you're still in the words out of my mouth, Patrick. Say it.
I mean, it's only going to get worse when the weather kicks in. I mean, they're having all these issues in this particular sector coming through the horseshoe in the dry, and without rain just kind of knocking around, then I think we're probably going to see more of those similar incident styles of people just kind of losing it on their own, because it's going to be slick, it's going to be tricky, and also not to mention that some drivers are going to try to brave it out on strategy, at least for an additional lap or two, because, I mean, it's pretty unlikely that at the very first drop of rain we're going to see everybody just immediately come on into the pits. The rain is going to fall for a minimum about a half a lap before we start seeing people really just start rushing into the pits. So especially if you get caught at a point where you just passed the pit box and then the rain really hits, then you still got a whole lap to do under those really tricky conditions where grip is going to be non-existent and visibility is going to be non-existent as Andre Wedderburn is absolutely doing some battle here with Aaron Clayball. Man, this is pure cinema. I mean, these two in particular have delivered some very spicy battles over the last few weeks.
Spicy as a spicy chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A, I'll tell you that much.
Weather update, weather update.
That is a radar. That is a radar picture, boys and girls. That is a time.
Well, in an overlay, incidentally. But yes, weather on the docket here. Because I was doing testing in the background.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. The boss has to do multitask issues. That's always good. But, all right, so while we were doing that, we had a spin there from Aaron Clayball that completely negated his spicy chicken sandwich battle there, and he drops well down the order. There's the rain. There's the rain right here.
Oval 3 and 4, yep. Oval 3 and 4 is where it started.
Oh, it's heavy. It is heavy. It is heavy. We're on board with Kel Haugen.
I mean, we were talking about earlier how there's not a worse spot you could be spun around. You could have not had a worse spot to get stuck when there's absolutely torrential downpour coming in, because you still got a majority of this lap and you got traffic all around you as this rain is absolutely just bucketing it down here. I mean, this is peak Florida weather right here, and these drivers, I hope they're ready, because this is going to be a doozy of a lap.
Well, I'll tell you what. So here is the thing that stinks for everyone involved, is that they're going to have to go at least another half a lap here. There's already spray coming off the back of Dylan Ackley here as they head down into their okay, well, that was a scare for Steve McClendon in ways that I can't explain. And boys and girls, pit stops aplenty. Brian Metterly stays out for another lap, but here we go. This is going to be very interesting, and pit lane is about to be the busiest pit lane I've ever seen. Everybody is in.
Nobody wanted to take chances on the slicks for any additional lap, which why would you? The rain is coming. There's no need to stay out an extra lap or two. Just get it while you can, and we'll see how this turns into a transition. Who's going to be better on the wet? We've saw enough issues in the dry. Again, only exponentially worse in the wet.
All right, we're going to pull up some picture-in-picture here, give you an idea of who is where doing what. Down on your bottom screen, we've got AMS in the pits here. Everyone going to wet tires with the exception... Did Aiden Garcia? No, Aiden Garcia had already pit earlier. He is still on dries. Look at the spray coming off the back, though, as we watch him go through. So he should be in. We've had Paletti in. Woodmansee is in. Dylan Ackley is in here. And as you can see, this is a treacherous situation to find yourself
here,
right now.
On the bottom screen, this is Tyler Cook. He's still on slicks right now, and you could just see the struggle of having to go ever so slow. I think the drivers who are on the wets, I think they have a different stripe on the side of the tire, a different coloring. You can kind of tell. A white border, a white tire wall there. It's hard to tell with the lighting. But certainly the drivers, a few still on slicks, and you can tell the struggle.
So, Patrick, I'm going to pull this up here. Last lap 148, best lap of 145 for Paul Nye looking through. We know this is coming and they're going to have to go on wets. Do we think Paul tries to survive another lap? Do we think anyone gambles an extra lap here on dries?
Considering the spray that we're seeing from these cars, I would say no. I'd say they're all going to just fire on into the pits. There may be one brave soul that might try to stick it out. Like, I think Kel Haugen might actually. No, I think he already pit earlier. But
no, he is still on dries.
Then that is a brave man. But it'll be interesting. I believe he's the surfer driver.
I can confirm all of the GT3s have switched over at this point.
Smart of all of them. The only car that has not touched the pit lane is your race leader, Cal Haugen. And my only assumption here at this point is that he is feeling very... Oh, no! He is way off through the kink. Look at this. one lap too much. I think he's gambled one lap too much, guys. Look at this. He is struggling. We have cars that are on wet tires that are struggling through the International Horseshoe. Kel Haugen has gambled.
And you'll start seeing drivers right here on the bottom screen. Nodwell starting to run the suboptimal lane, which in the wet, the suboptimal lane becomes the optimal lane. You want to stay out of the rubber. You want to stay in that gritty asphalt. And only a matter of time with these monsoon-style conditions, we'll start to see puddling come into play, and that'll change the lines as well.
Yeah, that's going to make things really difficult for a lot of these guys here. I mean, I commend Kel Haugen for the effort, but I mean, we're seeing some drivers on these wet tires, like you said, Corey, that are just absolutely struggling in these conditions on wets, which are the best possible tire for this track. And then you got Kel Haugen being on to the slicks, and it's just not an ideal spot as we see Dylan Ackley trying to shake for a move onto Eric Wineland. We'll see if he can go ahead and get a move done onto Spike, but you can see even a little bit of a line there kind of being formed as they make their way onto the oval. But this is going to be a really, really fun battle to watch in these conditions, but it's going to be really difficult. But Dylan Ackley's going to welcome the challenge. He's going to try to stick it around the outside, and he will get the move done onto Eric Wineland. And now they do have a Porsche that they need to try to clear. And oh, look at that. You could just see from the steering wheel on Dylan Ackley's car as the Porsche goes through the paved part of the Le Mans chicane. I mean, he is just fighting that car, fighting to try to keep it facing in the right direction here.
Look at the spray. Look at the amount of spray coming through here. I mean, even just watching here from our cameras on track, this is something else. These Whiplash sim cams do a beautiful job here of helping see through, but even then, just this amount of spray, we'll hop on board with Maxwell Woodmansee as Kel Haugen. Again, I think he went one lap too long just trying to gamble it out. It is 60 seconds in the pit lane, and unfortunately for him, his gap was only about 35 to 40 seconds at the time he came in. So for Kel Haugen, he is losing out immensely right now as we try to navigate through the International Horseshoe. We ride on board here with Maxwell Woodmansee, and well, what can he see? It's a lot of spray, it's a sunset, and it's probably the trickiest Daytona I've ever seen.
And it's only going to get worse here as looks as though we are sort of skirting a little bit of weather right near on the radar. A tiny bit of dry conditions. Some severe weather has passed to our west, or rather our east. So they'll luck out for a little bit, but then again, now we're going to start turning the lights on very, very shortly, guys. So it is 5:07. It's getting dark, so night rain. I'll tell you, I'm a driver with astigmatism. It ain't fun.
I mean, especially when you're going, and that's just like on the road in regular speeds. I mean, these guys are pushing 170 miles an hour in these LMP2s on these really tricky conditions. The GT3s are probably not too far off, probably pushing around 150 to maybe 160 as they make their way through in these torrential conditions. And I mean, the visibility is already going to be tricky enough with how high speed the rain is. But then you add on to the fact that the natural light is coming down and the track lights are about to come on. So it's going to be nighttime here before you know it. And it's going to make things really, really tricky here as we have some fantastic battling happening here between Tyler Cook, who's chasing down William Westbrook here. And Tyler Cook's going to try to go on the inside of the International Horseshoe. That's a bit of a brave move for the Porsche. He's going to go ahead and try to stick at the Atlantic Esports driver, trying to get a move done here in these conditions. But so far, he's going to just tuck right back in and give it another go later.
He's driving a whale liveried Porsche at a raining Daytona. I got to say, he's probably having the best time out of anyone if he is brave enough to show up in a whale liveried Porsche. And yes, he did change manufacturers this week.
I mean, is that going to be the Elbows Out Racing equivalent of the Rexy-mobile, just the car that is probably a whale of a good time to drive?
Whale, whale, whale. Looky here, boys and girls.
Oh,
That's what I
Jesus.
can really say. Hi, Corey.
That was bad even for my standards.
Oh, come on now. Don't say that to me. All right, Dylan Ackley working his way through some traffic behind, starting to lap a majority of the pro field. He's lapped up to Callan Tobin, who is the next car ahead, and this overhead view, you can really see the lines with the water here. If you got your bit rate turned up on YouTube, you can really see the lines with the water and the dampness of the track. I think what's going to be interesting is before that next rain shower hits, is there any dryness to come on this track? My answer is a resounding NO spells no. And just looking at the radar here, I'm going to tell you it's a big old heck to the no.
And it's not in my job description to cover the LMPs, Brad, but we do have a spin. Luke Patrick has had a faux pas of sorts. Switch a doodle here.
And we'll dial that up here really quick. And, well, here's what happened to Luke Patrick. That's the kink. That is the kink, taking out a victim in the wet all day, every day, and twice a day on a sunny day is exactly what that one was.
Yep, and that is part of the track that is going to pond more than other places just due to the fact that it is very flat, very bumpy. Those are the places that will have issues. And I think you guys were just talking about the whale. Well, the whale going for a swim, Tyler Cook around.
Oh, and he's around through the kink. All right, I feel like we should just set up a static cam there on the kink and just see how many drivers decide to do some lawn mowing and some bowling into the West Horseshoe. Is that a good option, Patrick? I think it's a good option.
I think it's a very good option. It's going to get a lot of use here. And, oh, wow, yeah, that's a massive spin. It's a pretty quick spin, though. It didn't look like he was going that fast going through the kink, but
that was a live
absolutely
spin right there
snapping.
On screen. That was the secondary one.
I will confirm that he is on wet tires. I don't know what's happening, though, but unfortunately it looks like he is going to have to park it there. Not ideal for him. Drivers we have lost in this race so far. We have lost the Big Mac as we drive past a Taco Bell car that really makes me want a beefy 5-layer burrito. Craig Yore, we lost the Aussie, and we've lost John Javicki. So we've lost 3 GT3s, which the fact that we've only lost 3 GT3s in all of this racing is kind of impressive as Eric Wineland is trying to work his way around, trying to find his way through. He would love to get past Maxwell Woodmansee here and go for P2.
Bringing on some more information about the LMP2s, Luke Patrick did get a meatball flag, so he's into the pits now to get that fixed up. And we are seeing trying to get past this through this part of the track is already difficult as is, and then you throw in these torrential conditions. But Spike seems to be handling it pretty well. Got through those GT3s without hardly any issue, really, even with Maxwell Woodmansee pretty much right there looking to take any kind of position humanly possible here. And the crazy thing is that we still have a little under an hour left to go in this race. And we've already seen a lot of carnage as Eric Wineland does go a bit wide there through the International Horseshoe as he makes his way to rejoin the oval. And that is a very, very tricky spot.
Yeah, it certainly is. It narrows. You can see 3 wide there. And that part of the track, again, I just worry about the puddles. And now where they are through the banking, that's going to be where the spray is ever so bad. Maybe we can get it on board heading into the chicane. And just basically the absolute utter blindness you have. And again, none of that facilitated by the lighting conditions. Watch this on board. Where do you go? You have to go all the way down and make a really suboptimal corner entry just so that you can see where you're going. And then miss it entirely.
Oh my gosh. So, drivers are struggling, is what I'm about to tell you. Let's hop on board really quick here with Mike Sermon, who is at the back of a train of cars. We're going to ride here very
around.
Man, I feel like anyone we look at, there's going to be a problem here. Let's hop on board right here with Steve McClendon. Look at this. I mean, has it
Puddling
come a torrential downpour?
Well, you figure, guys, that part of the track is lower than the actual racetrack just due to the fact that it's basically runoff pavement. So that part of the track is going to collect a lot more water. So now you don't have the grass to absorb it. So literally it is just a lake, so to speak.
You often see it if you go to like a parking garage. You'll see like on some of the painted strips, you'll see that there's like signs kind of saying like caution, paint is slippery when wet. The same applies in these cars as well. I mean, it's not just a foot traffic thing, it's a race traffic thing. So like Gore said, if you get onto that paved section through the Le Mans chicane, then there's not a lot of grip out there. So I mean, you can probably already catch a bass with how many lakes are forming here on this track. So if you get onto that pavement, that very slick, wet pavement, then you're gonna end up like Steve McClendon and just go a little bit off there as, oh my lord, of that rain.
So this is the end of the cell. This is the end of a downpour cell. So we will get a little bit of a break here in maybe about 3 to 5 minutes. That's the track. There are drainage systems, guys, built into some of the corners here. iRacing did model that in realistically, but I don't think it's going to do enough before the next cell hits to help with the conditions at all.
It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make a difference. This is what we're destined for the remainder of this run. One thing I was looking at with McClendon here at the start of that lap before we checked on the radar, these drivers are running about 16 seconds a lap slower. I had to double check my math on that compared to where they were. 16 to 17 seconds a lap slower. Eric Wineland specifically ran a 157 when his best is a 140. So
that is a definite drop off, guys. And I do want to point out, I'm not sure if this was predictated or we talked about it at all, but the rain is expected to end in about 15 to 20 minutes for good. From 5:45 onward, 0% chance. So this is just a shower. So the end of the race, the last hour, should be dry. Allow some drying conditions as we have a spin heading off into the infield turn 1 area.
Travis
Yeah,
Bell
that was Travis Bell. Yeah, his bell got rung, wishing he was sitting down eating some Taco Bell at this stage of the race. But yeah, it's going to be, and here's the thing too, to bring up that point as we wrap up Hurricane Brad at this track, you know it's going to be difficult for these drivers because even though the rain has stopped, the track is still going to be super wet. So it's not like, oh, rain stopped, time to go for slicks. Yeah, if you try that, it's not going to be a fun time for you.
Well, I mean, we have, what, 35, 40 some odd drivers turning laps. Do you think in an hour that will cause enough drying to even facilitate a drying line to where you could even plausibly think of switching?
Yes. My answer is yes. Somebody else can say no. I'm going to say yes. I would be very surprised if we don't get near the end of the race and if there's no more rain, we'll get near the end of the race and someone's going to gamble for slicks.
Because here's the thing too, right, is even with that gamble, even let's say that gamble pays off, right, and you do find a lot of pace on the slicks, you have to pretty much perfectly be within that dry line to get that benefit. Because if you touch the water, that slick tire is just not gonna have a great time, and you're just gonna be off into the Florida sunset, and that could be your race done and dusted.
Well, it's kind of a math equation too, guys. Brad, if you can bring up the pit lane time, the lane time graphic on the screen, that'll give a good distinction. We can bring up and show our fans here. Pit lane time, you see for Westbrook, 55 seconds. That is from cone to cone, including a stop. If you account for the outlap, let's say you lose a minute. We just said we're losing about 15 seconds a lap. So the pure math says about 5 laps of best lap time, you've caught up to the guys still on wet. So it just turns into that math equation. And with less than an hour left, we have about 28 laps estimated, I think, based on my telemetry. It's a big old math equation, a guessing game, and a trust game in yourself.
So here's another thing I'll point out really quick. Cody Peridotto, one of our very strong drivers, hanging out in YouTube chat. Which, Cody, why are you not racing? Let's start there. Why are you not racing, Peridotto? But second, he said P2s have to pit for fuel again. This is a 90-minute race. They pit in.
Oh, I got to interject. Andre Wedderburn had a massive faux pas into turn number 1.
Let's pull this up here and see what happened for Wedderburn. Wedderburn, I said he was one of the drivers who I thought was strong for the running, and yeah, that's water, just watering. He tries to avoid, and I mean, he almost goes all the way out to Daytona or to NASCAR turn 1, trying to avoid there. Yeah, that could have been catastrophic.
He will carry on just fine, and that will cost him massively. But again, even the best of the best aren't immune to these conditions.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, even some of the best drivers in the world, like Formula One drivers, hypercar drivers, etc. They always struggle in the rain for the most part. I mean, you have a few wet weather merchants that do really good in these wet conditions, but it is so difficult to go ahead and even utilize that, because even if you yourself are a rain master and you can handle the rain absolutely perfectly, it just takes one person ahead of you who is not good in the rain, and that could bring your whole race to a premature end. Even stuff just outside of your control, as we do see Kjell Haugen trying to go ahead and close into the Subaru LMP2 of Dwight Hibbs.
Now, guys, there's a battle there's a situation. I don't think we've really talked about the AM division too much tonight. I do want to point out that a little bit right here. Tristan Maher, how do you say that properly? But he's the leader in that class, and he has been dominating this race, but his last lap was a 2:02.5. Joshua Bibb, he just ran a 2-minute flat, so maybe these rain conditions could, we'll see if the trend continues, lead to a class lead change down in that division.
It's very much possible, and I mean, anything can happen in racing in the dry. And I mean, Corey, you and I, on some of the oval races that we have done together, we have seen some pretty crazy things that ultimately did change the outcome of a race almost right on his head. And Brad and I have seen quite a few instances of that here at Elbows Out Racing. So, I mean, what you're saying is not implausible, and actually it's kind of likely considering these monsoon conditions that the drivers found themselves in. And even though the rain is expected to stop, and if it hasn't stopped already, that track is still going to be pretty wet.
It has not stopped yet, as we can see from our static cam on the bottom of your screen there, keeping an eye on those battles. And I think Tristan may have just had a bad lap, because he has already since pulled away 2 seconds just from me having that little inkling of a conversation.
Indeed.
Ethan Murphy around. Ethan Murphy in the infield here, just as I was about to cut my feed. Ethan says, no, I need some time on the air.
Indeed, so we'll get another look. Yep.
How many issues through the kink today? And look at him
20.
Do the slick grass, just about spun to the other side of the infield there. Can't see anything from the blimp cam, but
too many incidents to count.
Literally. Battles are starting to pick up here, guys, a little bit here and there. Kjell Haugen's still right on the back of Dwight Hibbs. And I'm kind of watching Paul Nye is starting to feel some pressure from Vincent Leherbier as well, as they are coming out of NASCAR 2. Why don't we call it Daytona 2? It's NASCAR 2. I know this track by heart, but for some reason my brain is blanking here tonight, as Paul Nye has Vincent Leherbier and Colin Bourdon for company as we hop on board with Colin Bourdon. And I mean, the spray is still significant, guys. There's no denying that here. And You know, Patrick, this is one of those weeks where I'm very glad I'm up here and not down there. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah, that is a sentiment that I can echo 100%. I mean, we got the best seat in the house, and honestly, this is like even just going to like driving on the highway to work in these kind of conditions at the regular about 70 to 80 miles an hour is terrifying in its own right. Let alone getting dang near 180 miles an hour and actively trying to jockey for position, as we do have a three-way battle right here between Colin Baudon and Victor Herbier and Paul Nye. So the three are going to do battle here. This is for P8 in class, and I mean these guys have guts of steel trying to battle in these kind of conditions, because I mean these conditions are definitely not for the faint of heart, Brad.
Now, here on GT3, Brad, we had 2 successive incidents, nose to tail, essentially. 2 drivers both binning it into turn number 1. First one was Hugo Ortiz, right here. He's off into Abyss. Well, he saved it, but Michael Bowman just behind him, literally just behind him. Well, he's just saved it too.
No, God.
Oh, actually, no, here we go. That was Bowman. This is Ortiz. Pardon me. But again,
Ortiz
they were
with a hard
both
hit there.
following each other. Another one here. Oh, I haven't catched this one yet. That's Kalen Tobin. Texas meets Wall there. Carries on.
It's probably not good for Texas to hit the wall, right? Like, it's already such a big state.
Texas people are very, very in their feelings, so I'm not going to aggravate them any further. So we'll switch back to live footage in GT3, but who's this? This is a battle on track right now. Mike Sermon and William Westbrook. It's like Sermon went around the outside there. Oh, Kalen Tobin just about missed the corner again.
Tobin struggling.
They say everything is bigger in Texas, but apparently the mistakes are also bigger when Texas infiltrates Daytona, as we've seen a few issues here from a driver who's normally pretty quick here in Elbows Out Racing of Colin Tobin. And now, once again, we just have some excellent fights just happening in pretty much both classes. So, I mean, the LP2s are having good fun as always, but these GT3s, and there's one off track.
Taco Bell, you guys like roasting a Taco Bell?
Live Moss.
He lived a little too Moss there.
I think I just need the Benny Hill theme song for all this right now.
We still have 40 minutes of racing, guys. Can we just appreciate that for a second? We still have 40, count it, minutes of racing.
Ordon and Nye, speaking of racing, they are having quite their little skirmish here on the backstretch, and it's getting on board. This is what Borden sees. You can see a little whisper of brake lights, and that's about it. Getting the toe, getting the slipstream. Nye's going to have to circum the outside lane here. And no, Bordon's going to drive it in like a little conservative driver there. Didn't want to drive it in too deep, even though he had the spot. And Nye will hang on.
This is good racing, because this also invites here Vincent Laherbiere in the background to find his way back up into this battle as they go through. Now this is good battling all the way through as we watch and continue. We'll pull this up into full screen pictures going into turn number 1. How is this going to go? Well, I'll tell you right now, it's going to get interesting. Let's see how they handle it here. Holding on to the outside goes Colin Bourdon. Paul Nye defends the inside. Heading into turn number 1 we go. A little bit wider there. He'll kind of round this off. And, well, Paul Nye holding on for the moment against Bourdon. Bourdon will try to fight it here through the S's. Heading into the International Horseshoe. Try to look one way, try to look the other. And at the moment, Colin Bourdon not able to capitalize. And they will hold position where they're at.
Man, the myth, the legend himself, actually, Zach Nerney. He just had a faux pas.
Oh, what has Nerney done? Let's dial this one up here. Nerney, what have you done? It's the kink. Well, he wasn't the only driver off in the kink, but he had a big off in the kink.
And Westbrook. Westbrook lost the front end of his car.
Okay, Westbrook.
Same exact spot that Nerney spun out. Same exact spot that Nerney spun out.
So they're both out.
Crash reel.
Yeah, so we've lost some more GT3s here as we have less than 40 minutes to go here of racing at the Infinity Flying Farms 90 here in Daytona, Florida. And we're still seeing some really close battling here. I mean, you couldn't ask for a much closer racing, even in dry conditions, let alone these post-torrential rain conditions that we find ourselves in. And I mean, just look at that. I mean, we see it on the card that says "Don't crash" here on board with Maxwell Woodman. See, I think that's easier said than done, especially when, I mean, you can barely see the car in front of you in some cases. And also, not to mention that, I mean, we can just see that he's fighting with the steering wheel, trying to keep the car facing in the right direction. You can see him making so many of these little micro corrections here that it just shows you how difficult it is out there at the moment.
I can tell you guys that this is the last real cell that we're going through right now. There is a minor shower soon after this, but once we get through this cell, probably about 5 minutes or so, there's not too much, but again, we're only at 40 minutes left. So the conversation we had earlier was, are we going to get a drying line? I think the real question is it going to stop raining before the end of the race? I don't think that there's going to be very much dry time. I think our forecast is a little bit off per what we're actually encountering.
Wouldn't be the first time the weatherman has been slightly wrong, so it doesn't surprise me at all if that's the case, that everything is slightly off. Callan Tobin here, we're on board with trying to get past Ian Tanzius as he goes through. One battle I am watching is Woodman C and Eric Wineland, as they both just had a major oopsie daisies into turn one. This one might deserve a full screen replay here, as we'll dial that up really quick and see exactly what these two did together heading into turn one.
We'll see.
Looks like he hit a puddle, and then that just hydroplaned him off, and this seemed to be the general consensus back to back.
We'll get one more angle. This is on board with Woodman C. Oh, that's a sympathy off. I mean, look at that. He was just following through. He said, you know what? You went off. I'll follow you along too. But hey, obeying the rules there of the front left. Don't crash. And did just that.
It's a good thing that we didn't see Maxwell Woodman C crash, because, I mean, that would have really been a bummer, because he's been having a pretty decent race here today at Daytona. He's currently in podium contention here, as we're seeing some Aston Martin action, as the Aston Martin is going to go ahead and go on through. I believe that was Paul Nye onto Colin.
Yeah, Colin went wide, so it just really seems turn one must be the hardest part of the track, even more so than the chicane. Again, because of just how it is, it's collecting a lot more water. So these drivers really struggling, as we have fourth and fifth in Am on screen and a spinneroonie.
So I was getting ready to say, Zach Nerney sent me a message after his moment and said, you want track condition update. Whole track equals 0 grip. Really bad, the entire infield, all the oval corners, the bus stop, entering and exiting the oval. So, how do you interpret that in one sentence? Or in 2 words? Is wet.
Yeah, it just basically just leaves the pits.
And I tell you right now that if the track doesn't have grips, the pits have even less here. So this is exciting. I'm enjoying this.
So we are exiting our cell, so it should stop raining very, very momentarily. Again, I think I'll put my meteorological hat on. I said that wrong, but you know what I meant. I think we got about one more shower in about 10 minutes, and then we're probably clear to the end, but you will have to make the wets work. Obviously, there's not enough time for a transition sequence to happen here.
Yeah, we'll just kind of have to see how these drivers kind of navigate it, because it's going to be difficult for, I mean, Daytona is a difficult track anyway when it's dry, but I mean, when you can barely even see the car ahead of you, when you're even this close to it, like Colin Bordon is to the back of Paul Nye, the conditions are rough, and we're seeing a little bit of the unoptimal line that you were talking about earlier, Corey, just taking a bit of a wider entry point going into turn one, because that corner has been pretty rough for a few drivers, and we saw the replay a few minutes ago that just, I mean, it just shows you just how difficult. I mean, you can probably look at any different part of this broadcast ever since the rain actually started hitting, ever since we've experienced Hurricane Brad, and it has just been chaos from then on out.
Absolutely. It's just utter chaos. And this Daytona, I mean, it does have, said it before, has a little bit of drainage, but just due to the fact of what it is, it's not going to have the drainage of a Spa or an Imola or a grade 1 FIA track. It does the best it can for what it is, but this track is pooling a lot of water, and iRacing did say in a latest dev blog they are going to work on conditions, because they admit some of the conditions that we race on here in the sim might be a little too much than they would do in the real world, but that doesn't help in the future. Well, that doesn't help today, but it is going to help in the future.
%, as we see a battle here between Eric Wineland and Maxwell Woodmansey for the 2 podium spots behind Dylan Ackley, and there's an Aston Martin that kind of separates them. And sometimes, I mean, especially in that narrow part of the circuit, it gets really difficult to try to overtake traffic in the dry, let alone in these torrential wet conditions. So, I mean, Maxwell did kind of lose out in that engagement as we're watching it. Even though the rain, I think, has just about stopped, you can still see the massive plume of sprays, as we do see Colin Bordon trying to make his way around Paul Nye Sr., and not going to happen just yet. Inside becomes the outside, and vice versa. They go through the S's, and it's going to be Paul Nye Sr. still holding on, but that's a late and deep send there from Colin Bordon, and he's going to make that one stick. What a brave maneuver in these conditions, man. I probably would have been a bit too scared, honestly, to try to make that kind of move.
Hey guys, can I throw another spanner in the works here now that I remember how to unmute my mic after I sneeze?
Go for it.
Every single driver on track has to do another pit stop for fuel. There is nobody on track in any category that can make it to the end unless the GT3s can save 3 laps worth of fuel. They are about 3 laps short of finishing this race, which is about 6 minutes of racing. So every single category will require another pit stop, and it does appear that Vincent Laherbiere and William Westbrook caught that memo and have already pit.
Now, I have to imagine those fuel numbers are calculated off of their wet pace and not of their dry pace.
This is
Sometimes
info
I ask
from
that
Bernie,
question.
who was racing, so I don't know. This is info
I would imagine,
I'm getting
yes,
from
because I
Bernie.
know the calculators will typically count your average lap times in, so it might be a little off because of the skew from the first few laps, but accurate enough that...
All right, AO Racing, calm down, y'all.
Yeah, Spike and Roxy almost getting into a moment there, as what we see Maxwell Woodmansey trying to go in and see if he can get a move done here coming into the chicane, and it will not happen just yet. He can't lead that claim, but you can see Eric Wineland just fighting Spike, trying to wrangle him in through every single corner on that Le Mans chicane, and he survived, but man, that was looking pretty sketchy there for a moment.
Mr. Nerdy, I think, wants to have a word with us and maybe give us some pivotal information here.
Nurkani, sir.
Hello.
So, You are saying nobody can make it on fuel. Am I understanding that correctly?
Unless they have been heavily saving, no one can make it on fuel.
Okay, so you're a driver. You're smarter than me. What do?
Run it dry, hope a dry line opens up, and you can Hail Mary it for some dry tires towards the end. Or if you're one of the leaders and you just want to keep consistent, you just come in whenever you can.
Brad, if you want to pull up, I do have the up-to-date radar ready for our avail here, and we are basically at the most minor outskirt of shower left, and then we are quite literally in the clear. So that would give what, maybe 20 minutes of drying process. That's 10 laps. I don't think 10 laps is going to be enough to get a sufficient dry line in that. That would just be asking a little bit too much, but again, you never know.
So,
yeah, I don't think we're going to see that dry line. We might see it begin to form, but I mean, I genuinely do not think there's any way that we're going to see anybody even remotely try to consider slicks.
The sad thing, I wrecked out when I did because I was going to try.
So the thing, too, that I'll say, the slicks can handle a little bit of water displacement once they're up to 10. That is the weird thing with slicks. You can drive on a little bit of a damp track and get away with it. The big thing is, so the times are coming down, and I don't know if that's drivers getting comfortable or not, but like the LMP2s, the times are down to like 152s. And in GT3s, I'm seeing like 157. So the times are only about 10 seconds, 10 to 11 seconds separated from race pace. Nerney, correct me on this. What would you say is that crossover lap time? How many seconds off of like a normal dry pace?
I don't go based on lap time, personally. I generally go when my tire temps hit about 230 on wets.
Again, the other part of that equation, Brad, and company, is the fact that is the time element. Like we said, it's just you're going to be struggling for a lap or two as we have a spin, and time is ticking by. I think at this point you have to stay on the wets regardless, just because of the fact that you're asking a lot, and there's not a lot of time left as another spin.
He's trying, Mama. He's trying. Goodness gracious me.
Didn't get far, but carries on here. And again, we're our last whisper of rain, and last 20 minutes of this race should be dry. And we await the final pit stop from the majority of the field.
I mean, that's crazy thing. Normally, in these elbows out races, it's pretty much just one and done when it comes to pit stops. But the fact that this is a 90-minute race, and on top of the fact that we've had a transition period from dry to wet, and it's even though the rain is going to stop here soon, we're not going to see that transition back from wet to dry. But these drivers still have to make another stop based on fuel alone. So the question is, do you go for that stop early and just get it out of the way, or do you try to keep track position here?
Well, Eric Wineland is in the pits, so I think he has decided to go a little bit early here. Let's see how long of a pit stop he does. The car's in the air like he's taking tires. Am I crazy?
Might be a first set of wets.
You don't have to.
Well,
you
actually,
don't have to
I
take
think
another set of tires, though.
He would have to leave his stall for us to get the differentiate. Did he speed? No, he didn't. He's out.
That's a long pit stop for LMP2. Usually about a minute in the pits here. I would expect around 35 to 40 seconds if he was just getting enough fuel to get to the end. I think he misentered his pit strategy, and I think he might have taken a fresh set of tires.
Because he is still on wet.
It's not ideal, but maybe that can help him out towards the end. Who knows? Because, I mean, I know it's not usually something we think about when it comes to fully wet races, just with the tire wear and such, but maybe those fresher wet tires might be a bit of a benefit, but not if he's going through the grass and becoming a hydroplaning lawnmower.
They're cold tires. He would have been better off keeping a used set of warm wets on than putting on a fresh set of wets that he's now going to try to get up to temp. I think, unfortunately, we've seen our second, I don't even want to call it a throwaway, our second miscalculation of the race here for Eric Wineland. I think he is, unfortunately, going to be feeling it here to the end as we have Daniel Pinero off and about right as the camera cuts.
In that difficult turn, getting back onto the oval here. But carries on. Again, minimal damage for most of these drivers. A lot of just self-spins, but so much runoff space here. And can confirm we have cleared the cell. It is still raining, a little bit of residual rain in the air, but any second now we should start to have clearing conditions. In fact, turn 4 start-finish, it has stopped raining around start-finish line.
That is pretty nice. That is actually really nice because that'll work the rest of the way across the track. Live weather conditions here for everyone, just to give you an idea. 98.05% humidity. That humidity number is kind of the cheat number in iRacing, honestly. If you're ever wondering kind of where things are at. And track moisture's 100%, not 0%. I'll correct that one.
You won't correct it. I'll figure it out. But yes, add that one to my live update list. But again, the cell is clear. It is drying off. We'll just wait to see these pit stops. I would be absolutely floored, guys, if anybody takes fuel only. I mean, rather switches over. It's just I can't see the benefit, but there's always one crazy one in the bunch.
Yeah, because, I mean, honestly, if you go for a slick tire at this stage, and we're all three of us are going to collectively question your life choices at this stage, because you're literally just going to be sliding around just endlessly, and it's just not going to be a good time for you. We could just say that right now. You are going to be slipping and sliding like you're at a water park if you try to throw on a slick at this stage. So probably everybody else, if someone does take new tires, it's probably just going to be a fresh set of wets, but we will just kind of have to see how things play out, as we are seeing a fantastic battle play out with our resident whale car as Dwight Hibbs enters the pits in his Subaru.
So I'm just going to go ahead and say, if somebody goes on dry tires, it's going to feel like a triple bypass broadcast, because I will absolutely roast them into oblivion, and I will expect nothing less from you, Corey, and you, Patrick. I feel like that would be the point where we would absolutely rip someone a new one for doing something like that.
I will always remember the time I was commentating for an F1 race in Jeddah, and I saw a Ferrari driver put on a full set of heavy wet tires on a bone-dry Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So we could always just call it the Ferrari strat if all else fails. But yes, 100%. If you put on dry tires at this stage, then clearly you made some kind of miscalculation. It may be a calculated risk, but man, you're bad at math.
And for the record, I never claimed to be good at math, so I could see that happening somewhere, somehow. We've got 20 minutes left to go in this race, and I tell you what, it's been a long one, guys. This has been a long one. I know we talked about the drivers needing to lock in for the extra 30 minutes. I feel like we need to go for the extra 30 minutes. Corey, you're not usually here as often. Pick a driver, any driver, who is still running on track.
Where are we going with this? Because I could pick. Should I pick a leader? Should I pick a random?
Pick anyone you want. Doesn't matter.
Aaron Claybaugh.
Okay, so Aaron Claybaugh, you get to give everyone the beautiful sights and sounds here around a wet Daytona. Temporarily loud engines. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here with about 15 minutes left to go here in the 6-7 run of the Infinity Flying Farms 90 here. It's myself, Brad, in the booth, joined by Corey Silva and Patrick Coleman and Zach Gurney, who has de facto joined here because his car has had a time. 90-minute race here today, 15 minutes left to go. Patrick, I'm going to start with you, and then I'll let you hand it off to Corey. What have you thought of this race? Pit stops are coming around here as drivers try to figure out fuel load. How do we see the next 14 minutes going?
I think this is honestly just going to be a race for survival. I mean, these guys got to come into the pits to grab a little bit of fuel and then get back out onto the track. But, I mean, even though the rain itself has stopped, the track itself has not stopped being wet, and you can still see the massive spray coming off of the back of Dylan Ackley's car, our race leader here. You can even see some sparks flying from the bottom of that LMP2. So, I mean, it's putting a lot on these drivers and these cars, but I mean, overall, I think this is just going to be a race to survival to the end.
Yeah, and I expect the lap times to keep getting faster and faster, and maybe we'll start to see some different battles shaping up. Drivers who weren't good in the monsoons getting better as it gets drier, but with only about 7 to 8 laps left to go, not much time to be had. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think we still have some eminent pit stops for some drivers in, I think, the GT3 class primarily.
There are some coming, yes. I'm trying to look and see who that is, and I'd say it's a majority of the pro field is mainly who we're looking at, starting with Metterly, who is leading by about 11 seconds, 12 seconds and gaining over Tyler Stenick, his teammate there. And Zach, you can correct me on this if you are still here. You said what, about 2 to 3 laps short is what we're expecting here?
Yeah, 2 to 3 laps in full rain. As the times come down, expected laps total is going to go up, so probably 4 or 5 laps at this point.
Okay, so with that being said, I would expect with 12 minutes to go, pit stops sooner rather than later, so we'll keep an eye on that GT3 field and see what happens here. That is one of the weird things I didn't think of with a 90-minute race. With rain coming in the first 30 minutes, is how much it would mix up the strategy here. And, well, Patrick, if you're 12 minutes to go, I mean, you have a 12-second lead if you're Brian Metterly. Just splash, dash, and run.
100%, yeah. I mean, there's no real sense in getting a fresh set of tires because those tires are going to be cold and you're going to be taking more time in the pits than you would have lost if you would have just stayed out on those older set of wet tires at this stage of the races. We're seeing some fantastic battles coming on here in the closing stages of this 90-minute race that we've found ourselves at here. Colin Bourdon is going to be under some... Actually, that is not Colin Bourdon. That is his teammate who is going to be under a bit of pressure. That is Peter Nodwell under some pressure from Mike Sermon in a Porsche versus McLaren battle that we're seeing here. It's been interesting because I know the GT3s have actually had a bit of a tricky time here in these conditions, but yeah, I think in terms of pit strategy, it's just splash, dash, and go.
Absolutely, not any time, not enough gain to do the otherwise. I know, Brad, you were talking about how the lap times were getting faster and faster. I know our GT3 leader now is exactly 10 seconds off his best pace, Brian Metterly there, and I know we probably topped out at, I think, 15 seconds off the pace during the monsoon, so surely things are getting faster. There you go, even further now, about 9 seconds off.
And as that time comes down, as Zach said, that time comes down, that laps to the end here, short of fuel, will go up as it continues. And I still stand on business of if you pit, it's fuel only. Do not touch your tires. You have warm, wet tires that you've been running on for almost an hour. Suffer for a few more minutes. It is not going to be a pace advantage gain to take a fresh set of wets. Cody Peridotto in YouTube chat, I'm sure he agrees with me on that, as I see Callan Tobin in. It is beginning. The dominoes have fell. Here it goes.
It's a lot
We
of
will
fuel,
see.
don't you think?
Yeah, what is...
For
He's
about
on dry
5-6
tires.
laps?
He went to dry tires. He went to dry tires.
Oh,
What did he
no. Colin Tobin,
What
I mean, once again, they say everything's bigger in Texas, but this is a massive gamble here from Colin Tobin. Brave soul
massive
here running on
gamble.
the slicks.
But again, you're at best in the absolute prime conditions, you're going to gain 10 seconds a lap. When we're not in prime conditions and we only have about 5 laps to go, like the math, even in perfect conditions, is not going to allow this to work. And that's assuming he can get going. And you can already see having the struggle exiting the pits.
So the problem is those tires are cold. I think if they were warm, it would help a little bit. But, like, he slammed the wall just trying to exit the pits, let alone anything else. Like, let's see how he does in the kink here. He's behind the 39, hard on the brakes there. I mean, he doesn't go lawn mowing, so that's good at least. Let's see here. Hard on the brakes he goes. He's gone in the West Horseshoe. Yeah. All right, Callan Tobin, you gambled.
Yeah, and that didn't work out for you.
But it got you TV time. And even more some.
Spin it to the grass. Oh, no.
And on today's episode of PTR TV, not top 10 plays.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. You got to feel for Callan Tobin. He gambled, and very clearly he lost.
Here's Ian in the 359 in the Pro Division. I don't want to butcher his last name. In the pits, and the jack's going up. Does it go up for fuel in these cars? I'm not smart enough to know that, but the jack's going up for Ian.
I don't think they normally do. I think
he's on dries.
It only goes
he's
up.
on dries.
Oh no. So a lot of people are actually trying to gamble on this set of tires. I mean, it's an audacious strategy, but I mean, surely he would have had some kind of information saying like, hey, Callan Tobin just did this and he ended up in the grass like not even a lap later. So surely there's got to be some kind of information going on somewhere saying like, hey, this slick tire is not going to work.
Watch him on the exit here, because immediately into the wall, they can't even make it out of the exit of pits. Like, no, this is...
Yeah, because the pits are going to be the last place to dry just due to the lack of usage.
Oh!
And he just clipped somebody.
Oh my gosh, I think that was our AM leader.
Oh no.
I'll let you dial up a replay of that one, Corey. I think that was our AM leader.
Oh no. Get one more look at it here on the bottom side of the screen. We'll go from the top-down perspective. There's the struggle exiting. No, I guess he didn't clip anybody. It just looked a lot worse than it did. It looked a lot worse on the original shot.
Well, that was beyond terrifying in a way that I can't explain here as we actually check in with our AM leader, Tristan Maher?
I think it's Maher.
Oh, I figured you guys would know, but that makes me feel a little bit better. But coming to 6 minutes to go, Tyler Stenick in the pits in the Pro Division, and as expected, the only sensible call thus far, a splash and dash, 7 seconds of fuel.
What a good decision from Stenick here. Patrick, finally some sanity.
Yeah, I figured somebody sooner or later would have picked up on like, hey, there's 2 people in your class that just tried to slicks. And yeah, they both couldn't even make it out of the pits. So I think that, I mean, Tyler Stenick is at minimum a 2-time champion here for a reason, as we do see one Peter Nodwell going a bit deep, trying to either get out of the way or trying to defend. And we'll see if the driver with 7 hats can see if he can get a win here, or at least at minimum keep a podium.
So the pit lane's getting busy.
In the Pro, and he did take fuel only. So again, drivers realizing that's the call, and again, they're realizing that there's only 5 minutes left, so less than maybe 4 laps, give or take, depending on when the leader hits the stripe. When Ackley does, only about 4 laps to go. So you really just need to continue with what you have and just make sure you have enough fuel to get to the stripe.
These guys like giving me heart attacks in the booth. That's where I'm at.
No, you're not gonna burn up wet tires in 4 laps here, especially with the track temp. So just carry on. Again, Dylan Ackley up by 20 seconds in his class. Metterly up by 16 seconds, and then Maher up by about 5 there in the AM class.
Yeah, so it's going to come down to the wire, but I mean, unlike a normal like PTR TV race or a normal elbows out race in particular, I mean, you don't really have enough grip to really try for these audacious moves. Like, oh, but look at Kjell Haugen trying to surf his way past these guys, and he'll just split them right up the middle like his name is Mark Wild. That is a very good way to clear that traffic, and honestly, probably the best spot to do it.
Whew, these guys are scaring me here. 4 minutes left to go. And check this out. Emily Milky up into P7 after the lap 1 heartbreak that we had here, as Nicholas Paletti is into the pits here, the last LMP2 that should need to pit, and it is a splash and dash of fuel only, in and out. So LMP2 should be set to the end here, guys. It is GT3s that there's still some gambling, and the first gamble that I see is Peter Nodwell, who is on lap 31 of his stint.
I mean, yeah, at this stage, if he can make it on field, then he really just doesn't need to come into the pits. He's got a pretty decent gap, and I don't think that's a gap that you can really lose with about 3 minutes to go, about 2 laps, give or take, as his teammate's going to go ahead and just dive it up the inside with Eric Wineland following him on through back onto the oval, and Spike is just going to go ahead and try to fly on past here, but with about less than 3 minutes to go here, it is going to be make or break time for these drivers. But the question is, who's going to be brave enough on the brakes to try to make a move in these conditions?
Right now, I can tell you Ackley just hit the stripe there. LM2, our overall leader. So that was with about 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go. So essentially, this would be 2 laps to go for the overall. And again, where everybody else finishes through, that would be where they are on circuit. But coming through the middle of the infield here, again, 2 laps to go, humongous lead. Ackley just needs to go 50% and keep it on the raceway.
All of the leaders have great leads right now, and my big question for them is going to be how. Was it just a case of pit stop strategy working out beautifully? I think in Metterly's situation, that's definitely what it is he's got a 9-second lead over Stenik. The one person I'm worried about here as we cut through to the Le Mans chicane is Tristan Maurer, the Corvette, because he is on lap 31 of his stint coming up, and he still needs fuel, and he's only got about 27 seconds in the lead. So if he pits, he loses his lead.
Yeah, and especially with like a minute and a half to go, that's something he just definitely doesn't want to do. So he's just gonna try to stick it out here towards the end if possible, because that's the only way he can really get a win here. Because if he makes a pit stop, then his chances of winning are absolutely cooked. But Dylan Ackley, on the other hand, he's in the similar spot too. He needs to try to stick it out, or else, because if he pits now, then he's going to lose a position to Kjell Haugen there. So, really it's just survival as he is going to go through for the final time, and we'll get one more lap as the white flag is waved.
1 lap to go, sponsored by Nobody as he enters turn number 1 here. Again, a 20-second lead. I said all leads pretty well solidified here, but have to just get things through, making the dive underneath the whale car. We saw him go off track a few times, and you could just tell all the puddles dried up, guys. The spray going down just as that transition hits. This race hits its waning stages.
You got to wonder, what if we had 30 more minutes? What if we had 60 more minutes in this race to transition back to a dry track? What would the gamble have been at that point? I don't think it would have been anything too crazy, but right now it looks like things are working out really well in the favor of Dylan Ackley. The plane lands in the background at the Daytona International Airport, but here at the International Speedway going on to NASCAR 1, Dylan Ackley is going through. Check it back in on other classes here. Brian Metterly, 9 seconds and gaining, and Tristan still holding on to a 21-second lead for now as he'll come through. Let's see, does he have to pit this time by? It doesn't. Well, we'll see here in just a moment what he has to do. Let's watch. If he pits, he loses the win. And I hate to report, he is short on fuel by a lap. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's rough. He could do some extensive fuel saving, but kind of late now that he's into the pits. So, that was always going to be the risky part coming into this race, is just the fuel. Like it was mentioned earlier, as he's going to come around the last corner, the last couple of corners here in Daytona, and Dylan Ackley is set to take another win here this season. He'll be the first car to find the checkered flag. And Dylan Ackley wins the Infiniti Flying Farms 90 here at Daytona International Speedway.
Next car to come across the line here, coming out of NASCAR for Brian Medley in the Mustang. Mustangs don't usually like wet weather, but if you're Brian Medley, it does well here. He crosses the line. He wins in GT3 Pro. And then in the AM category, we've now got a fight for the win due to Tristan having to pit. Side by side, Aaron Clayball, Joshua Bibb, Chick-fil-A versus Roxy. Roxy runs through the kink, and we have one lap to sort this out. And right now, Chick-fil-A has the advantage.
Don't write it off now, but as Bibb is still 0.8 of a second back, I mean, that is right at the cusp of the slipstream range. He's going to send it on in here to the final hairpin in the infield. And again, keeping it in slipstream range, give him a chance. If you could dive it into the hairpin, into the chicane close enough, you know, you can set yourself up for the photo finish to the stripe. But he's 0.7, 0.6. The gap's going down. It's all about how he gets through and exiting the final chicane.
Indeed, we'll just have to see if Aaron Clayball will take in the pleasure of winning here, or if Roxy is going to steal here. They're coming to the Le Mans chicane.
Curb. I think he got a shortcut penalty. We'll see. He really ate that first curb hard, but if not, it's going to be close, Brad.
Coming here through 3 and 4. Gap 0.2 of a second. Gap closing here. They'll come around here going through. Dylan Ackley is behind them heading to the line. He is not running for position. These two are dive into the slipstream. Joshua Bibb coming to the line here. Aaron Clayball can hold it by about 1/10. And exactly 1/10 separates those two across the line. But it is Aaron Clayball, the Chick-fil-A car, who is handed the victory there in the Doge Squad racing car over Roxy. It hurts my pride that AO Racing doesn't get any wins here today at Daytona, but doggone if they didn't try.
Yeah, I think there's a little damage to the front of Bibb, and that was just hurting him through the infields. Oh, that was hurting him on the straights, but absolutely a great race, great battle there. And a very interesting night here in Elbows Out at the World Center of Racing.
Whew.
It was a really fun battle there, especially right at the end between these two. I mean, this is the thing I love about this league. It always provides good racing up until the final moments of every single race. There's usually somebody doing battle, and this time we had Chick-fil-A winning the battle here. And in honor of the spicy chicken sandwich I had yesterday from Chick-fil-A, a beautiful win there for the Chick-fil-A Aston Martin.
Absolutely. And let's pull up our race results here. And we'll start out with the AM category and work our way up here on the night. Unofficial results for GT3 AM, again, by less than 1/10 of a second. Aaron Clayball over Joshua Bibb with Tristan Meyer there in P3. P4, Andre Wedderburn. P5, Christopher Ondera. Daniel Pinero finds 6th place. Colin McDonough in P7. Michael Bowman, P8. Nathan Hemperly in 9th. The Aussie of Craig Yor finishing it out in 10th place. Only 10 GT3 AMs taking on this week's running here of the 90 minutes of Daytona. Moving on to GT3 Pro category, it's Brian Medley with Tyler Stenick in 2nd place by 10 seconds. Colin Bourdon, P3. Vincent Laherbière in 4th place. William Westbrook. Paul Nye, the Donut Guy, finds P6 with Steve McLennan in 7th. Mike Sermon, Travis Bell, Peter Nodwell, your top 10. Then it's Parker Chiapuzzo, Tyler Cook, Joel Bandera, Chris Stewart, Hugo Alexander Ortiz, Ian Tanzius, Callan Tobin, Zach Nerney, Ethan Murphy, and Mac Daddy himself, Eric Mack, with John Javicki in 21st place. LMP2s, this is how they stacked up. Dylan Ackley with Kel Haugen 25 seconds behind. A massive win for Dylan Ackley. Eric Wineland P3. Maxwell Woodman sees himself in P4 with Dwight Hibbs, the Subi guy, in P5. Aiden Garcia, Emily Milkey, Nicholas Paletti, Luke Patrick, your 9 LMP2s taking on this run. Patrick, I'm going to let you start out with some interviews here. What cars do we have available?
Let's go ahead and figure that one out. Currently, we have Medley, Clayball, and actually, Clayball has jumped into the box, so we'll start with him. So, Aaron, it was a really, really tight battle with Joshua Bibbs there right at the end. Overall, considering that this is probably one of the most complicated races we've had here this season, what was it like out there on track, just dealing with the transition from dry to wet?
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, it was awesome, dude. I love wet racing, so honestly, I felt like I came alive. Actually, once the rain started coming down, the main thing is just keeping it on the road and making sure you keep the car clean. But honestly did not know I was racing for the win there until Tristan had to make that last minute pit stop there, and then that threw it to Josh and I racing right down to the line, which was so close.
And it got really close between you guys there at the end. Oh, two more questions before we'll go ahead and let you. I mean, it's pretty late now to get some Chick-fil-A, but in spirit, get some Chick-fil-A to celebrate the victory. Next week, it's a fun race, but after that, we return back to business at the Nürburgring GP layout for the final round of the season. How are you feeling going into the last round here?
Yeah, it's not one of my best tracks. But over these last few weeks, I've been trying to chip away at Christopher Ondero's point lead. Tonight really helps with the win, so I'm gonna do my best to try to make it as close as I can for the championship there, and do the best I can. But I'm excited.
I bet you are. I mean, like you said, that win really helps you out. Last question is there anyone you'd like to thank or give a special shout out to here tonight?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the Doge Squad Racing boys, Travis Bell, Nicholas Paletti, Paul Boyle. Appreciate always racing with those guys. They're a great group of guys to race with. I want to thank my wife for letting me do this, and for you guys doing the broadcast, and Paul putting the league on. This is an awesome, fun league, man. It's a blast.
Indeed. Well, once again, Aaron, congratulations on the win, and we will see you next time.
All right, thank you guys.
All right. And from there, let's pick up a guy who is getting very used to being in the booth here and talking to us. One Mr. Brian Metterly, wherever he is hiding at. Brian, sir, how many times have you been in the booth at this point?
Honestly, I feel like it's been forever lately, but I'm glad to be back.
Well, it's good to have you back, man. Talk me through what seemed to be a challenging race with tricky conditions, some fuel strategy in the mix. How'd it feel for you out there for 90 minutes?
Crazy. I'm glad it's over. I'll be honest with you. I've had a hectic week. I didn't really get to practice the new bus stop till 7 o'clock tonight, at least my time. And I was telling Tyler, I'll be happy if I finish P10, and here I am winning the race. Strategy was pretty crazy with the rain coming in there like 30 minutes in or whatever it was. And I was kind of just expecting it to dry up quicker, but it just seemed to keep having those spotty showers every now and then and kept the track wet enough. I think my saving grace was I actually put a little wing in my car on my pit stop, so I had a longer pit stop, but I was able to reel who was that? Tyler and Nodwell back in, and I kind of just took off, and then I kind of just managed my race after that. And then, yeah, I had to pit with a couple laps to go. The Mustang loves burning fuel, so.
That doesn't surprise me a bit, man. Looking kind of at the race as a whole, if we had a little bit more time, were you going to try to go back on dry tires? I don't know if you saw, but there were a couple guys that accidentally took dry tires, I think, at their pit stops. And we kind of formulated in the booth, if there had been about 15, 20 more minutes of racing, it probably would have been good to transition into dries. What was your thought on that?
Yeah, I think if this was a 2-hour race, there would have definitely been a time where dry tires probably came into play. In our race in particular, though, I did see on my race labs a couple guys took that. I just didn't know if it would have benefited for the amount of time that was left.
Absolutely. And man, I got to ask you, we're on the tail end of the season. How are we feeling?
Honestly, my season hasn't been all that great. I feel like I've had pace at times and then human error on my part, and not had a great run, but I am looking forward to Nuremberg. I don't even know what the fun race is next week, but I'm always looking forward to doing it. I love doing the league. I love watching your guys' broadcast.
Awesome, man. We appreciate it, of course. And anyone else you want to thank or shout out before we let you go?
Just Tyler. He keeps punching me in the arm week after week, telling me to keep going, and it paid off this week. So I know he's probably a little disappointed he didn't get the win, but happy we got a 1-2 finish out of it. So that's something to be happy about.
Absolutely, man. Well, Brian, congratulations. Take it easy, and we'll catch up with you later.
All right, guys. Thanks for the broadcast. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. See ya. All right. I don't see our LMP2 winner. So, Patrick, we're going to do one more interview. Take your pick of who you want down there. That's not Metterly.
Let's go on board with let's grab Callan Tobin. Let's grab a fellow Mustang and bring him on in.
Did Callan Tobin take dry tires? Am I wrong on that?
No, he was one of the drivers who did take dry tires.
Okay, so let's see if he jumps up here. We did kind of roast him earlier, so he might not. And if he doesn't, I kind of don't blame him.
Yeah, he does have his hand up.
No, Eric Wineland has his hand up. Okay, let's pull Eric Wineland into the booth here. And Patrick, you've got Eric Wineland with you.
All right, so Eric, welcome to the booth. I think this might be your first time in the booth for interviews, has it?
Yes, Patrick, I believe it is.
Well, welcome to the booth. It was a very tricky race out there with all the changing conditions, fuel strategy coming into play, which isn't something that we normally do. But overall, how'd you find Daytona?
I love the track. This is only the third race that I own the track for the season here in Elbows Out. So I was able to make it out tonight. Rain, not my specialty by any means. I actually had no practice in the rain tonight. Leading up to this, I think the last rain practice I did was for the Rolex 24 back in January on iRacing. So leaned on some of that practice experience months ago and still made something happen tonight. I was impressed with myself. I learned a lot. I know how to race in the rain a little bit here, which is really incredible for an oval racer. And to finish on the podium tonight, Patrick, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think this also is your first podium here, is it?
First, maybe of the season. I know we had a good run at Sebring that got cut short, and then I definitely had a good race at Road Atlanta until we had some late contact with the GT3 and got taken out. So nice to kind of bounce back in what is my final race of the season, because unfortunately I don't own Nürburgring. So way to end the season on a high.
All right, so I was actually going to ask you about your prospects at the Nürburgring, but since you don't have that track, I'll ask you a different question in a similar vein. If you could pick any track for the upcoming fun race next week, what track would you pick?
I'd love to take a P2. Well, I mean, I don't know what we're doing with car selections. If we're changing the car selections, I'm not sure. You know what? I'll stick to it. I'd like to take a P2 around Bathurst. I feel like that'd be pretty cool. It'd be even better if they just made it a V8 supercar race, because I'd love to race those cars, but I never catch the Australian servers because I live on the East Coast and there's not too much participation in the US in that series. So that's my vote. I don't know how much of a say I have. This is only the third race of the season I've been able to make, Patrick, but regardless, that'd be pretty cool.
I think Brad and I both would like to see that kind of race. But last question before we go in and let you go here, Eric. Is there anyone you'd like to give a special thanks or shout out to here tonight?
Yeah, huge thank you to the guys that put on the Elbows Out Racing League. It started with Drew way back when, and now Paul running the show and his entire team that helps him put this thing on. I can't thank those guys enough. I can't thank Dwight enough. Dwight throws up setups for the rest of us. So a guy like me who's just like, yeah, I got own this track, I can make this race tonight. Grabbed a setup from him. Used the wet one tonight. Was not good in the dry whatsoever. I feel like we were down like 10 miles an hour at the end of the straights. But when the wet came around, we came alive. And of course, the strategy played out really well for what I decided to do as well. Short fueling quite a bit tonight. So yeah, thank you to Dwight there. And then of course, thank you to you, Patrick here, and Brad for the PTR TV guys that broadcast this each week. I know Elbows Out really appreciates it, and I do too, to be able to showcase my skills on the road and especially in the wet. I'm an oval racer at heart. That's where most of my time goes. But here in the off season of NASCAR, nice to get back on the road side of things and get some laps at Daytona in preparation for January, hopefully in the Rolex 24.
Indeed, and I'm sure it's a lot of fun here racing with these guys week in, week out. And I know you've only been able to make a handful of races, but I know you've had a lot of fun in those races, and we've had fun watching you guys go ahead and do battle week in and week out. Well, once again, congratulations on the podium, and we will see you next time.
Hey, thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you. All right, boys and girls. Well, with all this being said, my PC is screaming and crying and having a fit after this race. It has temperature-wise risen about 20 degrees in my room. I think we're going to call this race. Any final thoughts here, Patrick, before we let this one go?
I do want to say, well, it is still up in the air if we're going to broadcast a fun race, but I do want to wish everybody a very happy early Thanksgiving. If you guys are planning on traveling, I wish you the safest of travels. I know, especially if you're driving anywhere, the highways can be a pretty tricky place, so just be safe. And once again, thank you guys so much for joining us here on a Wednesday night.
Big thank you to Dayton McGuire. If next week is streamed, it might just be a normal stream. It might be something fun. I promise nothing. You'll find out when I find out, which is probably going to be next Wednesday afternoon. With that being said, of course, the holiday here in the U.S. does shake things up a bit. And with that being said, the holiday shaking things up, Patrick, we didn't talk about this at all. Technically, this was our penultimate race of the season. So, yeah, join us next week. Or not next week. Join us next week for fun. If you want to hang out, we will, of course, have some stuff here on the channel. And then the week after, of course, for the season finale here of 2025 Season 4 of Elbows Out. But on behalf of Corey, on behalf of Patrick, my name is Brad. We've taken you start to finish. Be sure to join us for the next one. We'll take you start to finish yet again. Good night.